December 7th, 1941. The attack on Pearl Harbor. America was brought to its knees. Our naval fleet lay shattered. The world believed Japan was invincible. But one man refused to accept defeat. President Franklin D. Roosevelt demanded a response. A response that was not just retaliation, but an impossible message. America is coming back. The problem? There were no American airfields within 4,000 miles of Japan. Our heavy bombers were never designed to reach Tokyo. It looked like a suicide mission. But Lieutenant Colonel James "Jimmy" Doolittle concocted a plan that bordered on madness. He planned to launch bombers from the deck of an aircraft carrier in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Airplanes that were never, ever meant to take off from a carrier. This is the story of 80 young volunteers, pilots, bombardiers, gunners, navigators. They knew they might not return. They had no clear route, no fuel reserves, and no rescue option. It was a one-way ticket for them to set Tokyo ablaze. This is the story of the Doolittle Raid, America's most audacious aerial assault, delivered straight to the enemy's heart. In the wake of Pearl Harbor, America desperately needed a victory. Morale was shattered, and the public was beginning to believe in Japanese invincibility. A psychological shock was mandatory. Captain Francis Lowe of the Navy proposed the impossible idea. Could an Army bomber take off from a carrier? Normally, Army heavy bombers, like the B-25 Mitchell, require substantial runways. A carrier deck was far too short for them. But Lieutenant Colonel Jimmy Doolittle, a famed aviator and stunt pilot, took on the task of making it possible. He selected 24 B-25s. Each aircraft was stripped down, fitted with extra fuel tanks, and had its rear machine guns removed, replaced with fake wooden guns to deceive the enemy. All of this happened under the strictest secrecy. The pilots were simply told they were going on a special mission, their destination unknown. On the Atlantic coast, the volunteers practiced short takeoffs from a mock runway. They had no idea they were practicing for the deck of an aircraft carrier. April 2nd, 1942. The aircraft carrier USS Hornet sailed from San Francisco. On its deck, the world saw, for the first time, 16 B-25 bombers tightly lashed down. The pilots were now told their true destination: Tokyo. For weeks at sea, they sailed west, maintaining radio silence. The plan was to reach within 500 miles of the Chinese coast, attack Tokyo at night, and then land on makeshift airfields in China, where Chinese guerrillas were waiting. But on April 18th, the Hornet was spotted by a Japanese picket boat, 650 miles short of their intended launch point. There was no choice left. The attack had to be launched immediately. In broad daylight, the heavily fueled B-25s had to take off from a tiny, pitching carrier deck. It was a near miracle. Doolittle himself took the lead aircraft. There was no hesitation on his face. One by one, 16 bombers roared down the deck and successfully lifted off into the stormy winds and sea. Their fuel gauges were already dangerously low. In the afternoon, the 16 bombers passed over Tokyo. The Japanese defense, completely unprepared, mistook them for friendly aircraft. The Americans dropped their bombs on factories, dockyards, and military installations. The raid was a profound shock to Tokyo, which had never conceived of the threat of attack. The physical damage was minimal, but the psychological impact was immense. For the first time, bombs had fallen on Japanese soil. After the raid, the pilots headed for China, but luck had run out. The weather worsened, and they ran low on fuel. In the stormy night and heavy fog, most crews were forced to crash-land their planes or bail out via parachute. 77 of the 80 pilots survived, but 3 were killed. The Japanese captured 8 pilots, 3 of whom were executed. One plane landed in the Soviet Union, and its crew was interned for years. Doolittle believed the mission had failed because all the aircraft were lost. But his assessment was profoundly wrong. The Doolittle Raid was more than a military victory. It was a victory of morale. It was a much-needed shot of inspiration for the American people, ready to return to the fight. It shook the Japanese, forcing them to realize their homeland was vulnerable, leading them to make a crucial strategic miscalculation by pushing their naval fleet forward, resulting in the Battle of Midway, the decisive turning point of the Pacific War. Jimmy Doolittle was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor. His Tokyo Blazers proved that America was not merely responding, it was attacking. Today, the Doolittle Raid is remembered as one of the most daring and inspiring missions of WWII. It is the story of brave pilots who made the impossible possible and showed a nation that even in the darkest hour, the light of hope always shines.